So my background by education, I'm an architect. I have a master's degree in architecture. So design has always been something I loved. And, with the economy, times changing, I had to come up with a plan B because architecture wasn't paying my bills anymore. A lot of young people come up to me and like, oh, how cool you're doing this. Hey, how'd you get into this? You have tools, you have skills, take it and apply it to something else.
Utilize it.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to episode 90 of the Andrew Deitsch podcast. I hope everyone is having a lovely Monday. Last night I went to probably the weirdest concert of my entire life, so I'm still recovering mentally. But if this is your first time listening to my show, thank you so much for checking it out. My name's Andrew Deitsch, and on this show I meet up with the most interesting people I can find, and we simply have awesome conversations. And those people include entrepreneurs, creators, athletes, world travelers, anybody with a fascinating story. And I let them share their stories and opinions with me. We have an awesome time. And then shortly after that, you get to be a fly on the wall during our conversations and listen in. And I believe that conversations like this are super important for us to understand each other and acknowledge different perspectives. So thank you so much for stopping by to check it out. And normally this would be where I would introduce a little bit of sponsored content, but this episode is on the house as my sponsors have taken a little vacay from the podcast for a bit, but never fear. There's a lot of good cooking as far as sponsorship and monetization go for the podcast, so don't worry about me. I'm still eating. But today we are in for a treat because I actually have two guests here on the podcast. My guests are the power couple Ayaz and Zeenat Momin. And Ayaz is the founder, lead designer, and the brains behind Threads and Beams, an Atlanta-based company they create super high quality custom shoes, bags, and accessories. And not only that, they actually donate 50% of their profits to community enrichment in Atlanta and abroad. And his wife, Zeenat, is a traveling registered nurse. She's a certified personal trainer and nutrition specialist. And she's also a featured coach on the app FitRadio. She's basically a total badass. But a couple of weeks ago, I made a post about who I needed to have on my podcast next, and Zeenat commented on my post and said that I should have her husband on the show. I was super interested, and I connected with him, and then I went to a Sweat with ATL event hosted by Umama Cabria from episode 87, and I asked Z if she wanted to be on the podcast as well. So we decided to kill two birds with one stone and do a joint episode. So I'm really glad that we did because this episode was really, really special. But anyways, during our conversation, Z and Ayaz shared how they met. Z shared her fitness journey and how she's on an obsessive quest to stay on the cutting edge of fitness and health. And Ayaz shared the story and the meaning behind Threads and Beams. This was such a fun episode. Super glad to have them on the show. I also wanted to point out that my current setup isn't exactly designed for multiple guests just yet, so I actually pulled this off with two omnidirectional lavalier microphones. And I think anyone who knows what that actually means would be fairly impressed with how it turned out. At least I was. But anyways, if it sounds a little funky, that is why. But I'm going to shut up now, so please welcome my guests, Zeenat and Ayaz Momin. All right, we are recording. We are live. So I want to make sure I'm pronouncing the names correctly. Zeenat?
Yes.
And Ayaz?
Yes, you got it.
Okay, perfect. Very nice. And how do you pronounce the last name?
Momin.
Momin.
Yeah.
There we go. Very nice. So very, very cool. So I first got connected to Zeenat on Instagram, and then we met in real life last weekend. Very fun. We were at a Sweat with ATL event.
Yeah.
Really, really fun. Was that like super hard for you, or were you dying at all?
I was, because I don't really do a lot of full body workouts. I do a lot of like isolated workouts where I do like shoulders one day, back. I never combine it. So yeah, I was pretty much dying. Especially when he wouldn't let us stop the high knees.
Yes.
At the end. Like, that was nuts. But such a unique style of training. And when I add in cardio, that's probably like going to be my go-to place to go for it. So,
seriously. Yeah.
Really cool.
So was this the same event as the yoga place, or
no.
that was separate?
You were there too.
Yeah, I was at the yoga event too, but I was doing some video stuff, so I wasn't actually participating. But the yoga event was at the Ivy in Buckhead, which is like a bar.
Oh, wait. I went to the one the other day at Turntable Yoga.
At Pond City Market. Yeah. Well, the interesting thing about that is I was supposed to be doing video for that, and then they announced that it was like canceled.
Yeah, and then they
so then I left, and then they ended up doing it.
Yeah,
and I was just like, oh well. In any case,
it's all because of the rain.
It was because of the rain, but apparently Steph said that like so many people showed up that everyone was like, let's just do it.
Yeah,
like we don't care. Like if it starts raining, we'll stop.
Yeah,
and so
it was like really a little sprinkle, but it turned out really nice. Like that was cool.
Yeah. Very cool.
Very cool event. And I don't normally do yoga either.
That's awesome.
So I actually realized how bad I need to start because I was like, oh my gosh, I've never stretched this part out. And I was like dying in some of the poses because of how tight I am from all the muscle building workouts that I've been doing. So
yeah, that was one thing that I not to go down this whole tangent, but that was one thing that I realized like late last year was that I wanted to be more flexible. So I started doing a lot more yoga, and like even just going consistently like a couple times a week is like insane, the progress that you can make.
Yeah.
It's pretty intense.
I need to start.
Very cool. Okay, so Zeenat, you're a personal trainer.
Yes.
So of course we can talk about that. And then Ayaz, we just actually did a really cool thing. We'll talk about it in just a bit.
Yeah.
But you are the owner of Threads and Beams,
correct?
Right?
Correct.
So can you tell us like a little bit about the company?
So Threads and Beams, basically, it's a brand focused on customization. We want to give the consumer ability to customize shoes, accessories. When I say accessories, I mean backpacks, iPhone cases, iPad cases, travel accessories, right? So the idea is to give the individuals an opportunity to create an identity for themselves and in the footwear and the backpacks. So we started in 2015. The initial idea was never to get to the customization, but the idea that when we first started, it was just to produce shoes. I myself love shoes, and I started to realize that some of these brands that I love, they are overpriced in my opinion. Some of the shoes that you can buy in the market with calfskin, high quality leather, they run you about $300-400. So I wanted to bring the price point down, give quality shoes. So Threads and Beams started actually on our travels to Mumbai in 2015, was it? Yeah. 2015 when we toured Mumbai. We ended up touring the slums of Mumbai, which is what you see in the movies, right? Slumdog Millionaire. And when we were touring, we learned that the Mumbai slums, actually the slums itself, has a $5 billion GDP annually for leather and recycling industry. So we ended up touring a leather factory, how they go from raw leather to the final product of backpacks and all that. So we started the idea of producing the sneakers, and we pitched the idea to the guy, and he said, yeah, we can make it. So we invested in production. So, hey, we need to make some sneakers. It took us about 10 to 11 months to make a shoe, but it was never to the quality that I had imagined. So by that time, I was heavily invested financially and mentally, and just, I was there. Like, I have to make this happen now, you know? So what we learned through the whole process, that Indian culture, where we come from, we don't wear sneakers. We wear dress shoes. So the craftsmanship wasn't there. The artisans there could not make the product that we wanted to, even though to the best of their abilities, they couldn't do it. So then at that point, I was like, all right, I have to make a shoe. I have to get this out. So we shifted our production to China. We produced our first line in 2016, I think. May 2016 is when we released the 3 colorways of sneakers. They're just blank silhouettes in black, white, and olive green with gum sole. And we had really good response. But then at that time, as a sole company, the whole company is bootstrapped by myself and Z. And we were so heavily invested in this, where we were like, all right, if we were to produce the next shoe, we have to look at a large capital to produce this, right? So that's when the idea came about. How can we make this where it's not as heavy investment for myself, and we can offer a consumer an experience of customizing the product, the shoe. So we searched a lot of companies. We actually spoke with manufacturers in China. Everyone had minimum requirement that you have to produce minimum of 100 pairs. And producing 100 pairs, you count about, $40 a pair. You're looking at $4,000 just to produce one design of 100 pairs. And you look at the back end storage, all of that adds up, right? So,
and this was when you in China. You're talking about these
in China,
minimum orders.
India, anywhere you go in the world, right? To produce a product, they ask you for minimum. Mm-hmm. So at that point, I was like, all right, maybe threads and beams, it's got to let it go. I just got to maybe keep producing this, because to produce these shoes, you have to make molds, right? For the sole and all of that. So I have the molds. Maybe I'll just continue producing this in different colors. Then for about a year, we just went on about like, okay, how can we make threads and beams advance in production and provide quality and do all of that. So then we started shifting, looking at Portugal, looking at Italy, looking at Spain, and looking at all the other different countries where they produce quality products. But the price range is higher than what you produce in China or India because of the labor costs, right? So luckily one day, this manufacturers from Spain reached out to me. They said, hey, we are shoe manufacturers. We could produce shoes for you. The similar conversation that I'm explaining went on with them. And they said, oh, we actually can make this for you. I was like, 1-to-1? They said, yeah. Like, okay, let's do it. So, nice. So it's the God's plan. Like, I believe that, the idea that was in my mind, it actually came to me through a conversation with an individual. So now what we have is a custom portal. And threads and beams, still tying back to the idea of the name, people always ask me, what does it mean? So my background by education, I'm an architect. I have a master's degree in architecture. So design has always been something I loved. With the economy, times changing, I had to come up with a plan B, because architecture wasn't paying my bills anymore. Because when I graduated, the economy crashed, couldn't get a job, I was unemployed. So coming back to the idea of design, footwear, threads comes as, which is a structural element of your apparel, which holds everything together. Beams is a structural element of a building, which holds the foundation together of a roof, right? And for the building. So the idea was that threads, we wanted to provide quality. Beams is the idea of giving back to the community. So we actually give back 50% of our profits back into either individuals, charity, but the only thing we ask that everything must be transparent. So if I were to donate 50% to, let's say, XYZ charity, right? We need to know that every dollar we give goes to the cause, not for operation, not for all of that. So for that reason, we took the operations of working with individuals directly in my own hand, because with charity, you have your support system. They have to pay their administration fees and all of that. So I started working with individuals directly one-on-one. Like basketball, there's a high school player who I met at a camp that we had sponsored. Then for the last year and a half, we have been paying for his basketball camps, right? Wow. Getting his skills up and helping him get better as an individual athlete, as well as his academic stuff. So he, just to give you an idea, he's, how tall is Chase? Like 6'4", 6'5", and he's a junior. Like and I think last season he averaged 20-10. When we met him, he was at 10 points and 10 rebounds. So just seeing his growth, and recently his mom texted me saying, I've been a great assistance to him to become who he is. And that's when I realized that something I'm doing is helping individuals directly. So it's never been about changing the world. It's about changing the individuals, right? Because when I first came to America in the 90s, I had a great foundation around me. That's what made me, like my family, my aunts, my uncles, my parents. That's what made me who I am. And a lot of people, unfortunately, don't have that, right? So the idea is I became who I am, took advantage of the opportunities I had, and created opportunities for myself. How can I make that for people around me who are less unfortunate, right? We all have foundation, but we just lack the structural system that helps that foundation grow. So that's the idea of threads and beams. And so now we are shifting, because there's just so much happening. I can't do it all by myself. So now we're shifting our 50% commitment to this charity called watercharity.org.
I've heard of them.
Yep. They basically build water wells all around the world.
It's amazing.
And the one thing I love about them is you can go to their website and check out all of their tax records. So you can just click on it and get their dollar to dollar. And their administrative costs is supported by individual donations outside, like, people who support the foundation. But if I donate to them, my dollar goes directly to those who are in need. So I'm trying to make it official partnership, but I'm a small brand right now. So it still will take a lot of growth. So right now you'll see that update on May 1st, where we are transferring the entire Beams initiative to water, charity, and just focus on that specifically. So that takes some off my plate and I can focus on product.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, because making sure that your donations are effective,
right? That's
is really
key.
important.
That's the key, right? Because when you donate money, so initially we were going to donate to India, but me not being there and just the culture it is in India, it's hard to track your dollar. It's hard to say, I gave you $1, what happened to that? Because I'm not there. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So now having charity water, it's like, okay, I can go on their website. If Andrew bought and wanted to see something, hey, where did my 50% go? Andrew can log on and say, oh, there is a donation done on my behalf and this is where it went. So the idea is, the product, I don't make living off threads and beams. This is just something I do out of passion. I have a job, right? So this doesn't pay my bills, nor that I intend that it will down the line. But the idea is, how can I generate a cycle of revenue where it creates donations and helps others around me?
That's really powerful.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that like a lot of people they feel this like lack of meaning in their life, like they feel like they could be doing something bigger, something more, or, they have, like you said, you have this dream of like creating something, and then, people don't execute on those on those types of dreams because they're like, how am I going to compete with, these high-end luxury brands, or how am I going to compete with these, brands that literally have millions of shoes sold per month or whatever. Right. Like, how am I going to compete with those? And so people just decide like, I'm never going to do it.
Yeah, that's one thing I've learned. It's not to compare myself. If I were to sit down and compare myself with likes of Filling Pieces, who it's out of Amsterdam, right? And they have great products. I love their products. I'm not going to.
What's that company?
Filling Pieces.
Filling Pieces.
Yeah, he's an architect himself, and they're out of Amsterdam. They're sold at, I think, any Nordstrom Rack, a bunch of big brands, right?
Interesting.
And they're very affordable, very comfortable shoes. I love their product, but I don't consider myself as a competition in them because it's a completely different product, right? My shoe, I feel like it's focused, my brand, at least for now, I'm focused in Atlanta. I want to grow. I'm not focused selling in LA yet. I'm not focused selling in New York. I'm focused in Atlanta because Atlanta lacks an identity when it comes to our fashion identity, right? If you look at Atlanta, we borrow things from different cities.
For sure.
Atlanta doesn't have that identity. Like, whenever you go somewhere, you will not be able to say, oh, that's a product from Atlanta. But you go to LA, you have Stamped, you have Vans, you have a bunch of other brands that are out of LA. But Atlanta now, with the influence of Hollywood, we have an opportunity as a city to kind of put ourselves on the map. Like, oh, this is a product from Atlanta. Right? So I'm focused on that. I'm not focused on Nike or how many shoes I sell yet. But it's like, how can I create a brand that people can say, oh, proudly, like, yo, this is from Atlanta. They do good work, not just make good product. They actually help the city. So that's what I'm focused on.
That's important.
Yeah, that's
really,
important
really
to me.
awesome.
That's important to me. Yeah.
That's really, really cool.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, because you're totally right about being able to like go to a city and seeing what like the vibe of clothes just from like you mentioned Amsterdam. Like whenever I've gone to Amsterdam a few times. You always get this like one vibe from all the people there. Like people in Holland are like so fashionable and like they're always wearing like, I don't even know how to put it, like like high end sneakers and stuff like that, or like really like I don't know, like neutral colors and stuff.
Right. And it's interesting, what people forget to see is people in Holland and Sweden, they wear a lot of raincoats. They wear a lot of boots. It's because of the climate, right? Because it rains a lot there. And I've seen people wear raincoats in Atlanta. It could be 70 degrees outside. I'm like, dude, you're sweating inside. Stop trying to put yourself, dress like somebody that's from Sweden and dress here. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
Your functionality gets lost. Like people in Atlanta, to a certain extent, they dress because it looks cool, not because it's functional. You know what I mean? So that's what I mean when I said initially that it's borrowed fashion. Like we try to dress like I'm in LA, but Atlanta is way more humid than LA. So what I dress in LA when I live there compared to what I dress in Atlanta should be different because the climate, you have 4 seasons here. In LA, you only have one consistent season. Maybe you'll have a few cold days, right? Maybe you have one rainy day. But Atlanta, you have, you know what I mean? Like we're not, I don't know, for some reason people lack that.
Yeah. What do you think people in Atlanta should be wearing then?
I don't know, man. Like, it's 70 degrees outside. It should be just like you and me. Like, a t-shirt and just shorts, right?
Yeah.
Something comfortable.
Yeah.
Because it's humid outside. People need to be comfortable and not try to be someone that they're not. Regionally, they shouldn't try to dress like a person in LA. Like Kanye could dress in LA however he wants because of the weather, but do what's best for you functionally, like climate, what you're doing, how you're moving, right? So it all plays a factor when you look at European countries. That's what their fashion is. It's the reflection of their habitat. Like that's what they dress to correspond with. Right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'm a big believer in function for sure, but also like having a modular, customizable so I'm a big believer in like carrying a light jacket or something because I can always take it off.
Right.
Like that's why I always am uncomfortable wearing like long sleeve stuff because I'm like, what if I get hot?
Yeah.
Like I can't take it off. Like I want to be able to like take something off or whatever. That was like when I was younger. I always loved the zip off pants.
I have a t-shirt with zip off sleeves.
Really?
It's a sweater I got from Zara. It just slides
I've never
off.
seen that.
Yeah, it's just I have a sweater with sleeves that I carry around. So if it gets cold, I put on the sleeve and zip it up.
That's hilarious. Yeah, I always love stuff like that where you can like add on a thing or like customize a thing or whatever. I've always been a huge fan of that kind of stuff because and that was why I tended when I was younger. I hated wearing pants. Like I was always wearing shorts all the time.
Oh man,
but
I was opposite.
Really?
Because I have skinny legs. So chicken legs was. I used to get that all the time. So I used to wear pants, especially baggy pants, so people could judge.
That's funny. Yeah, like I always, I don't know. I'd much rather be cold than hot. Like I was always like, if I'm wearing too much, I'm gonna feel claustrophobic and like disgusting and sweating. That's why, like you were saying, with the rain jacket in 70-degree weather, I'm like,
makes no sense.
Right? I can't do that. Hey.
So Atlanta, I think it's getting there. Atlanta, there's so many designers I've met through last year, attending different events and just talking to people. And people always ask me, like, there's an individual I met recently, and he was talking about his brand, and people tell him his brand represents Cobb County. So I was like, that's interesting because how does a person know that that's Cobb County, that's Atlanta, right? So he was asking, how can I make it Atlanta? I was like, look at functionality. Look at people, how people move in Atlanta versus Cobb County. Cobb County, everyone moves in a car. You don't have sidewalks, right? City of Atlanta, now you have bike lanes. So consider designing pants that don't get caught up in your paddles, right? And your bike paddles. So I told him to look at like how people move, because that's your biggest inspiration. Like if you sit on Peachtree at 5 p.m., you'll get any inspiration you want. If you're a designer, if you're designing clothes, footwear, eyewear, cars, whatever you could be designing, you can get influence from there and just capture that niche and design it for the population.
Yeah.
So,
and once you can tell that story too,
exactly,
and like explain why, people love being sold a story like that.
And they relate to it, right?
Yeah.
Like so when if I were to say, oh, I designed the shirt, I saw Andrew walking on the street, and based on his body language, this is the shirt I made. And Andrew was gonna love it. Like, oh crap, this is like,
it's made for me.
Made for me, not for you. You know what I mean? So the idea of individuality to me is way more important in giving people that power. Like you can make your own anything.
Yeah.
Now you have tools. Like I can sit there and scan your movement, record data, and analyze you later on my computer, right?
Yeah.
So why not do that?
Yeah, that is actually really interesting. And I think because of the internet, we've been exposed to such a higher caliber and higher quality of things. Like it was like before the internet, you just like open a catalog or walk in a store and you kind of like had to buy whatever was in there if you wanted whatever. Like you wanted a jacket, here's your options. Like where else are you going to find a jacket? But now with like Instagram and everything, you can see, I want to emulate this style and like I want this level of quality. I'm going to try to get the best of the best thing.
Exactly. Right.
And I think it's almost like a lot of times we have like a paralysis of like there's too much stuff. Like there's almost too many things we want. So we end up just not getting any of it. But like I love that idea. Like you said, now we have we're trying to encourage people to ride more bikes. Make some pants for people that are stylish, but won't get caught up in your chain or whatever.
Exactly. So if you look at people wearing high water pants these days, right, a few cuffs. So if you look at the functionality behind it, right, where it originated from Brooklyn or New York, people do that often because they don't want their bikes They don't want their pants to get caught. Like a simple thing. When then people think it's awesome, it's cool. Sure, but there's a reason behind it. There's a function behind it. You walking around high water and driving a car, walking in Atlantic Mall, unless you're trying to show off your socks. You know what I mean? Like, to me, it's like, all right, what's the function? So I'm a big believer in functionality. When I design something, that comes from my architecture background. Is when I design a space, what is the functionality of it? Like, what is the purpose, right? What is the usage out of it? How an individual would utilize a space or that apparel piece or whatever that may be.
Yeah, I'm sure you get frustrated a lot with pretty bad design.
Yeah, it happens, man. It's a process, right? You have to believe in the process because, like I said, the shoe I have on right now, it took me 9 months to make, right? Or 11 months. It took me that long to make, but it came out right. It's still not the perfect shoe because when you make things internationally, you run into the basic things that you'll never think about. It's the conversion of measurement, right? Metrics versus all of that. So like a 10 in India, it's not 10 here. Right? It's a 42 in UK conversion. It may end up being 9.5. You know what I mean? So it's like the size conversions is still a problem for me. Like I have so many issues with shoes where people customize a shoe and they will order, just go online, read the conversion chart, 42 to 10, whatever that may be, and they'll order 42 on my site, and then or US 10. But then when they get it, they're like, it's kind of loose on me, kind of tight on me. So I'm still trying to solve that problem, and I think we have figured out. I may just tell you what it is. Basically, we are introducing, hopefully this year, a camera tool where what I mentioned earlier on our kiosk, or on your phone, you'll be able to scan your foot. And we'll measure the topography of your foot. And we'll print that using 3D printers in our factory in Spain. So when you order a shoe, that will be a one-time fee. I don't know the cost of it. So when you order a shoe from us, it'll be measured to that foot that you scanned and printed in Spain. And it'll be built on that. So it's specific to your site. So no longer standing on a scale, no longer saying, I'm guessing, no longer going onto Google and saying. So the brand measurement will be specific to our brand because every brand has a different techniques. So when you wear 10 Nike, Adidas maybe 9.5, right?
Yeah, I run into that all the time.
Yeah, so that's
even with shirts and stuff too.
Yeah.
Because like one thing with me is like I like a shirt to like fit a little bit tighter sometimes, but then the length is wrong. So if you're wearing a small, then it's like showing your belly button. But if you're wearing a large, like the length is right, but like the sleeves are huge.
Exactly.
And like
to me, at least in my opinion, it's all the metrics conversions. Like manufacturers, when they have their laborers, right? So they have a system. They just follow a system. So if there is a glitch in the system of measurement, your whole order is,
of course,
you're gonna have a problem, right? So that's the biggest thing. So hopefully the camera, once we introduce that, we're supposed to introduce that this month, but we haven't gotten to it yet. It's a high powered tool, right?
Of course. So the idea is amazing.
Yeah, we want to make it where you're able to do it on your phone rather than going to a kiosk.
Because that's the biggest problem that I always have with buying shoes online. Yeah. Is because, like you said, every manufacturer is slightly different. Even, like you said, Nike to Adidas. Even sometimes, like, one time I'll buy a Nike pair of shoes that's 10, and then the next pair I buy is 9.5.
Yeah, because the materials are different. Like, if you buy Flyknits versus you buy Jordans, right? Because Jordans had to use leather. Flyknits is just a fabric that's knitted. So you have different texture, different thickness of material. So that creates a variation in sizes. Exactly. So that goes same with our shoes. A lot of our shoes are dress shoes. You can add running soles to them. So if you were to get Chelsea boots, right, you can customize them and add a running sole to them. So you can make that if you want to. So
like on the insole would be squishier or the outsole?
The outsole. Yeah.
Oh,
so you can make it like a boot.
So it's like a sneaker boot?
Yeah, you can do that.
Interesting.
So you can make a sneaker boot. You can make whatever you want. You know what I mean? So the idea is we have like on a boot, we have I think 6-7 different styles of sole options. So each sole, in my opinion, would vary your size because the thickness, the roundness, the shape of the sole, how your foot is, if it's wide or narrow. So it's a lot of variations. So it's to solve that question, or solve that issue, we are introducing the 3D app where hopefully that will resolve issues with people, not knowing their sizes.
Yeah, and that's another thing that happens with me is like with my foot like tends to be a little bit wider. Yeah. And so like when I wear Converse, my toes are always like crunched.
Happens there, yeah.
And that happened to me. I got a corn from that. Jeez. So I use Converses for my leg days. And between that and playing flag football, either the cleats or the tucks built a corn on my toe.
Which toe?
My pinky toe.
My pinky toe too. My pinky
It's
toe.
so uncomfortable. And now when I wear like regular shoes, I literally have like those little bandages over it. But I think mine is, the bandages are not making it go away. It's just helping it from the rubbing up against it. I stopped wearing the Converses for right now and just sticking to like Nike, something a little bit wider for my shoes, even on leg days. Even though they're not as flat and I don't get like as deep into the squat because of the way that the shoe is, it's fine. It's not as painful because of that corn now.
Yeah.
I've like double bandaged it, everything. Even when I go on vacation, if I'm wearing flats now, like dressy flats or pointy shoes. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So now I'm like in search of a podiatrist.
Right?
To think about like cutting it off.
I offered. I said, hey, let me just do it.
I'm like,
Some scissors.
How bad do I need this pinky toe?
Right? No, that's so true. And that's the thing is like, you see everybody like, oh, cool, those Converse look dope on everybody else. And then I buy them and it's like squishing my toe, all this stuff. So yeah, like that's always a big worry for me is like, I want to buy these awesome shoes, but I need to go like try them on, or I need to like make sure I can return them if possible or whatever, because
our return policy is really cool. So let's say you order custom shoes and you don't like them, or whatever, it don't fit you. We'll let you make another pair for free. And people always like, oh, what are you going to do with that shoe? So we're like, okay, the next homeless person you see, give it to them. And, just make sure that they're dressed properly, not properly meaning, but they need shoes. Because a lot of time, that's one thing we forget, man. Like, it could be me and you the next day, right? So the idea of appreciating and just, what am I going to do with that shoe? Resell it. Right. To me, it's like resell it. Yeah. Okay, cool. But that smile on that individual's face when he gets that pair of shoe, to me, it doesn't equate to a dollar value. Right.
Yeah. I
So I always say I have customers from New York or all over the country. And to me, you shipping the shoe back to me will probably cost me the same amount of money. So I'd rather have you give it to someone and put a smile on someone's face. That's our return policy. So
I love that.
So, if you buy a shoe from us and not happy with it, cool, we'll make another shoe for you, or I'll refund you the money. But that pair of shoe, just make sure you put a smile on someone's face, whether it's your mom, whether it's your dad, or whoever it may be, or a homeless person you may see, whoever you want to give it to, and put a smile on their face.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
I love that.
So that's what we're about.
Yeah, I feel like return policies are getting more interesting these days, anyways, because of, like you said, it's like almost the same cost to have you ship it back.
And shoes is
this.
tricky, right? It's hard to resell a shoe because if it's worn
at all, even just the slightest bit.
And it's like, what am I going to do with that shoe, right? I'm going to throw it away.
Yeah.
Might as well.
Where you can't deconstruct it.
You can't deconstruct it. I can clean it and sell it at a sale price. That's one thing we don't do is we're never going to put our product on sale, right? People are always like, hey, when are you going to give discounts? So recently we've started these thing called Threads and Memes challenges. So I want you to earn your discount. So like recently I have a challenge going on right now where, you had to sign up by, I think it was last Sunday it started, where you would, it was a fitness challenge. So every pound either you lost or gained, depending on your goal, you get one entry in our draw. So if you win, you get a free pair of shoes or bag, whatever you want. Just for entering the contest, you'll get $100 off. So we don't want to just give people discounts, right? We don't, because I truly believe in my product. I don't think it should be discounted at all.
Yeah, but Louis Vuitton doesn't have a sale.
Exactly. Why should I? You know what I mean?
Gucci doesn't have a sale.
Right.
Yeah.
So why should I? So I want you to earn that discount. Like instead of me just giving, say, hey, here's 20% off if you shop XYZ. No, do XYZ and I'll give you that X amount of dollars, right? So the next one we're going to do, it's probably community service. So you send me a log of, let's say, a month. You do 10 hours of community service. Every hour you do, you'll get an entry into the draw. And and then let's say we'll do a random draw. You win, you get a free pair of shoes. And everyone else who participated will get $100 off on a product. So the idea is knitting the community, knitting individual, making them active. Because these days, myself, yourself, all of us are so lost in these digital windows, I call, that this is what we see the world through. We forget to see the world outside of it, right? Like in reality. I'm guilty of that as well. So the idea is, how do I engage the younger generation, people my age, our age, to get grounded, to get connected with the community around us, right? So that's the challenges. On our page we have challenges. You can sign up, and every month I'll send out a challenge, and then if you want to participate, I'll send you details. You follow the instructions. You don't have to tag me. You don't have to do any of that on Instagram. Just connect with your neighbors, right? So the next one I think will be pretty fun, doing community service. So
that's really cool.
That's pretty awesome.
That's awesome, man. I really like the creativity because a lot of people, number one, a lot of people do giveaways and contests and stuff like that, mainly just to get them more exposure and stuff. Like, make sure that you follow me and like this post and follow these 3 people and tag me and use the hashtag Threads and Beams 2018 and you'll be entered to win $5 off, or it's just, and then everyone's just like, what? No,
to me that's a gimmick, right? Because people that doesn't build a relationship. To me, it's important that I build a relationship with my consumers. So how do I engage them? By having them engage to the city. So because if you think about it psychologically, right? If I have you work 10 hours, help your neighbor, or help cut lawn or whatever that may be, you're going to remember earning the $100. Like, oh crap, I did this and that's how I earned. Versus me just giving you a coupon code, right? You're not going to remember that. You're not going to remember my brand. My goal is to imprint my brand and say, this is a brand that does community and provides quality. That's awesome. The goal. That's like, all right, I want to imprint my name in your head.
I like that. I really do really like that. I'm a big believer in connecting the dots. Yeah, connecting the dots, because you're right. Like, so much of the time we're just like, oh cool, give me this. We expect everything for free. Sure. Yeah. And I'm with you on that. Like, creating the story of actually giving back, because I think a lot of times the reason why, especially like this quote unquote like millennial generation is so attracted to this kind of give and get model, where you can feel peace of mind buying this thing because a portion are being donated back or whatever, I think is because in the back of our heads, we know that we're not doing anything on a day-to-day basis to help anybody else. Yep. And so, like, actually getting someone to interact and engage with their community is really powerful. Yeah. And then that's another thing. Like, what got me to this model is Tom's, right? Yeah, of course. And Tom's it's so, like, you can see their work, right? You can see what they did in South America. You can see, like, impact they have made in communities that produce the shoes. So, or their specs, right? All of that stuff. Yeah. But a lot of companies like myself, smaller brands, there's a lack of transparency. Right? There is like, okay, there's so many companies, they say, we'll give X amount of percentage or X amount of dollars, but where and how. Yeah, of course. So that's been my challenge. Like, how do I answer that to myself? Because those are the questions that I ask myself, like, where and how. People ask me where, because there's also so many frauds. People doing name of donations, right? They take money and they disappear. So that transparency, it's led me to like water wells. Like, you can see, I'm not a 501. I'm not charity, nonprofit. I'm none of that. So the idea, it's working with a brand and working with a company that does all that work already. All I'm doing is linking my page and Andrew's name as a consumer to that, right? So the idea, it's how can I be transparent, right? So transparency is the biggest thing. Another thing we're actually talking about doing with our brand is adding the names of craftsmen who made each pair of shoe. So I'm in talks with our factory, like, who cut the product, who stitched it, who tested the product, who did the final inspection of the product. I want to create a label on my shoe where you have all the names of individuals. That's so cool. The idea is you are directly now connected to the producers of your product, right? So it's not me. I'm just a middleman. I'm just connecting the dots. But the individuals put in all the work. I think it should be informative. I think it's pretty cool that you should know who produced your shoe. Yeah, and because one thing that's overlooked a lot of times in mass producing is the fact that a lot of laborers are, like slave laborers in a lot of products. Like, you don't know that maybe one component of your iPhone was created by, another company that was utilizing slave labor, or utilizing maybe not even necessarily quote unquote like slaves in the traditional sense, but underpaying them severely, or all kinds of crazy weird stuff. Yeah, so there's a clothing blog. It's called Who Made Something. I forget what it's called. Like Who Made My Shirt, or who made my shirt, or so something like that. That's where my inspiration comes from. I was like, you know what? That's pretty cool. Like,
I should know who cut my shoe. I should know who made my shoe. If I'm paying all that money, why don't I know that? So the idea comes from that, like, you know, how can we become more transparent? The idea, it's like, I want to be as transparent as possible. So when you buy my product, you can say, okay, I bought this product. This is where it's made. This is who made it. My 50% is going to this location. This is where they're drinking water because I assisted. And the idea is to give you that sense of accomplishment, right? Like you said earlier, millennials like want to do something, but because we're not doing it ourselves. So now you have a map. You know what you did through Threads and Beams.
That's awesome. That's really important. Yeah, because and not only is transparency like something cool that people want, it actually adds more value to your brand long term and product long term, because you can actually showcase that stuff. People love being able to be invested in their thing. The more they can, like, you know, someone points out their shoes to them, and if they can be like, yeah, dude, and they take it off and there's literally like a guy's name inside of it, like, yeah, and even the guy who made it and stitched together, his name's in here or whatever. People get excited about that type of stuff.
So that's the whole idea of discounts. So we don't give discounts. We want to create that excitement, like, oh shit, I earned $100 a day through Threads and Memes, you know, but I also did this. Yeah. So the idea, it's like, we did put our boots on sale. That was because of samples. And I just had to make space, but it was not, just had to get rid of it. But we didn't sell any. We ended up donating all of that to Africa. All the pairs we had, I think it was like 20 some pairs. I contacted a blogger out of New York, out of LA. His name is Hugo Mais. He's a fashion he's a stylist for a lot of big artists. He's based out of LA, and he put up an Instagram story, hey, I'm traveling to Africa to underprivileged population. If any big brand wants to donate, I'll take it. So I messaged him, and he gave me his address, and I shipped every shoe I had from here to him, and then he took it with him.
That's cool.
So I was like, you know, to me, that was more satisfying than selling everything else I had. So
exactly. That's just like we were saying with the return policy.
Yeah.
It's more satisfying. Yeah. I was going to mention this earlier when you're talking about the return policy. Yeah. Have you ever, you know the company Jaybird that makes headphones? Yeah. So recently I had a pair of their really old ones and they broke, and they decided to ship me the new ones. And they gave them to me for free, so shout out Jaybird. Like, they really were awesome about it. But they have a weird thing where they said, okay, so you're saying they're broken, right? I was talking to a lady on the phone, and she's like, okay, so they're broken, right? And I was like, yeah. And she's like, okay, well, have you ever heard of our cut the cord policy? And I'm like, no. And so what they do actually is they make you send them a picture of the headphones, and then you cut the cord with your scissors. You use it again. And then you take the picture with it cut, so you can prove to them that these headphones actually are broken. You're not taking advantage of their system. They like don't have to waste money. Like, okay, ship them back, blah blah blah, because they're old headphones. They're not going to do anything. I thought that was pretty clever.
That's really smart.
Yeah, because like you know, it's like, okay, they're broken, so prove it.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So I like the innovative ways that people are kind of doing that type of stuff.
Yeah, man. Like it's like shipping. People don't realize. People think shipping is cheap, but each of my shoe weighs about 4 to 5 pounds. So shipping that across the country or shipping it. Yeah. A lot of delivery I do locally. I just go and say, hey, here's your shoe.
Yeah, literally. Yeah. Hey, why not? Yeah, that's smart, honestly. Yeah. And the other thing that people don't think about is like, oh man, shipping is so expensive. But if you actually think about how luxurious the fact that you can stick something in a box and it ends up in the right place for like $20 or whatever is pretty insane. People are complaining about all this, you know, well, shipping is, you know, blah, blah, blah. But, you know, it's pretty amazing, the system that we have.
It's a good system.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And complain all you want about the United States Postal Service, but...
Oh, we don't use them.
Exactly, right?
We use UPS.
Exactly. UPS, FedEx, whatever. Yeah. The fact that there is a system in place where you can ship something for that affordable, like, it's pretty insane.
Yeah, no, it's a pretty cool system, man. It's just... We're growing, so it's growing pains, you know what I mean? Of course. Like the idea of, like, having... I'm still learning. I don't have the whole business plan down. I learn as I go. I develop as I go. I find problems and I try to find solutions. And I feel like I'm in the right direction because it's every time I come across a problem, like I mentioned about sizing and not fitting, right? We had a solution. We take advantage of technology. Like, you know, there are apps out there which they are used to scan topography. right? Like your Xbox, the kinetic thing, that can actually scan you as an individual. It does it in game. So there are hacks out there you can use that to scan human body. And so the idea is, how can we make it where you scan your foot and use that to advantage and make,
of course,
make the product more
and people
comfortable.
are excited about that too, I'm sure. Like if they can have a custom made shoe to their foot.
There are companies that do that. They send you a cast kit.
Huh.
So you cast your foot. There's one out of London. You cast your foot, send it back to them, and I think it's like $100 plus you pay for shipping back and forth. And imagine the weight of cast, right? You cast your foot, that just weighs a lot.
Yeah,
shipping
of course.
it back to
what
Europe,
do they cast it in? Like latex or something?
I don't know. I haven't used it. I've
that's
just
so
heard people
weird.
use it. Yeah.
Because that's really interesting though.
So
That's cool.
You send a foot, then they create a last out of it, and then they build your shoe on it. But the good thing about that company, they're expensive, but they give you lifetime warranty for your sole. So if you run out of it and ship it back, they'll replace it, just the sole, and bring it back. So
that's really awesome.
But I think their pair run about $1,000 or so each. So we want to
$1,000 for a pair of shoes.
We want to make it as affordable as possible.
Yeah.
So
exactly. So I want to go back for a minute because we didn't talk about how you guys met even.
Yeah.
Because So how did you guys meet? Give me the backstory.
Okay, and the backstory kind of leads into my fitness story.
Yes.
He's gonna really want that sunshine for that. But anyways, we met actually. One of my friends was his first cousin, or is his first cousin. Met through her actually. He was living in New York at the time because he was studying at Columbia, and I was here. I started off I'm also a nurse, so I started off all my pre-nursing classes at Kennesaw State. So when he was in town visiting, basically he got my contact information through her. We had texted a couple times. We met up at a Starbucks, and the crazy thing was, we both thought it was just gonna be a quick meeting, just to meet each other at Starbucks kind of thing. We were there for 6 hours.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, just talking. This was not even technically a date. It was just we're just...
It was the first time?
First time just meeting in person.
Wow.
We had only texted a few times over the phone, hey, I'm in town. Would you want to meet up type of thing. Went from there. We met up at 6. I was thinking I'd be back to have dinner with friends back in my dorm, whatever, at that time. And I was there till midnight. And then
the Starbucks is closing. They're get out of here.
Yeah, basically. And then we didn't even realize it. We looked at our phones and we were oh my God, it's midnight. How are we here that long? So it's kind of cool. And then a few days later, we had met up again. We had kind of tried to meet a few times before he was going back to New York. But since we already had that initial couple meets, I feel like that just kind of hit it off. And so even while he was in New York, we stayed in touch, kind of did the long distance thing. After about a year of talking, dating, all that, we kind of told all of our families, stuff like that.
No, you forgot the airport story.
Yeah, but I'm getting there.
Okay, sorry.
Anyways, so we told all of our families and stuff. They had already known that we had been talking, things like that. We were pretty serious, and we were eventually going to move forward. But before all of that, because both of our families are pretty much kind of conservative, right? So he was graduating from Columbia. I wasn't going to come because at that point, his parents didn't know to the extent, and I didn't want them to know that I was going to stay with him. And it would just cause all this awkwardness, especially being pretty conservative, right? So we had planned it to the T. Okay, they were going to be there for graduation. I would come for the weekend to celebrate. They ended up, we were supposed to cross an air. So they were supposed to leave by the time I fly in. We were, they were supposed to be heading to Atlanta and I'd be going to New York. At that point, I get on this flight and I was oh my God, I'm about to meet my in-laws for the first time, because when I land and I turn my phone on, I have all these missed texts, don't get off the plane. And I'm what? And I find out his parents are at my gate. They're going to get on this flight, the one I'm getting off of. And I'm oh my God.
Oh my gosh.
And
so you were
they
literally
already know who I am. So they would see me. They would know who it would just be a whole, they would obviously know I'm here because he just graduated. It would just be way to, they'd be why wouldn't you be here when we were here? Type of thing. All this stuff. So
that is so funny.
We had to emergently tell his sister, and she's 35, and she's telling her mom and dad to come to the bathroom with her just to steer the airway, they're not getting off. It was so funny. So now I'm like walking out like the girl from It with my hair all in my face, just zooming out of there. Just because I didn't want to have to explain everything.
Yeah, exactly.
At that point, because it was just
you'd already gone to the trouble of like making this situation not happen, and then the exact situation that you didn't want to happen was going to happen.
Oh yeah, and I'm horrible with like stories and lies and things. So it's just like I'm one of those people that's going to make it look obvious as much as I'm trying not to. Mm-hmm. But that's how we met, was through his cousin, and then like. We actually had a really long engagement. We got engaged soon after like his graduation was over, stuff like that. But we had about a 4-year engagement because I started nursing school. I ended up going to Emory. I didn't want to like get married in the middle of nursing school, or I wanted to make sure I was established before I got married. Same with him when he was talking about how when he graduated, the market crashed, being unemployed. Like it was just great time. Like we knew we were going to get married. We just didn't know when. And it was not a rush for either one of us. So basically we got married the year I graduated from nursing school. I took my boards, got a job, started working, and got married that year.
Like, now it's time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like now we're both like set, and he had already been working
so
for a couple years.
4-year engagement, you said?
Yeah.
So I'm sure it was like, by that time it was... You're
smooth.
Yeah.
It was like all smooth. And also like it was a great time because we got to know each other's families. Like, we knew of each other, but like, it was just like going to all the retreats or whatever, like their family trips, stuff like that. It was a good time, like a good enough time to get to know them. Mm-hmm. So by the time the wedding came, it didn't feel awkward at all. It was like my family's there too, kind of thing. Yeah. It was kind of cool.
That's great.
And then
where did y'all get married?
Here in Atlanta.
Nice.
We had... Yeah, all of our events were in Atlanta.
It's just because we have such a large family.
Yeah, and you were living in New York at the time.
I was just in school.
You were in school, gotcha. Yeah. And then you came back to Atlanta.
Yeah.
And you said you moved to Atlanta when?
90, when the year the Braves won, so 95.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's a good year to move.
I know. I remember I was like, what is baseball? Because I come from India, we know cricket. I was like, what is baseball? Why are people going crazy on the street? Then I learned about the culture of the sport. So I was like, all right, that's going to be the year I came to America, 95.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
And I was born and raised here. I actually grew up in Fayette County. So,
nice.
Down south. So it was cool. Then the fitness whole thing. So I started off as a nurse. I am an ICU nurse. I ended up pursuing fitness as like a hobby, actually, because I was working out. I actually started working. Me and Ayaz would work out together. Like that was like our thing. Every night when we'd get off work, we'd go work out together. He actually was the one that like made me get into like lifting weights. Before that, I was like a cardio bunny, just because that was like the easiest thing to do. Like a lot of people.
So like when I talk to clients,
it's actually like a relatable story because I can say like I've been there. Like you don't want to do that. Try to educate on that aspect. But we started training together, and then at some point, like 9 months into it, we both reached like a plateau, right? We ended up getting our first personal trainer, and as I started going to him, I would go sometimes twice a day. I was so addicted to it. I was addicted to seeing results, just the methods, learning from him, everything. And then I started noticing more and more people coming to me like, oh, I know you work out a lot. So I kind of pursued it. I got certified. I got certified in sports nutrition as well. And then I looked at it as a way of like, I've always been obsessed with the human body and what you can handle, especially being an ICU nurse. You can see the worst of the worst and just see how your body can turn around.
It is pretty
majority
insane.
of the time, just depending on between drugs, between how your heart rate's pumping, how all the technical things. But then I look at training as, it's also you're helping someone with their lifestyle in another sense. I look at it more as preventative care in a sense. Eventually, I'm sure I'll intertwine the two because everyone is always like, would you ever stop being a nurse? And I feel like I'm so passionate about both. And I love, like, as crazy as this is, I love my patients sick. So when I'm in the hospital, because I feel like I do a lot more for them. Because seeing somebody go from coming in with a cardiac arrest to walking out next to me is like the best thing in the world, So it's really kind of crazy how that works out. But then when I'm training and I'm seeing people's results, and I know that because you came to me, like I pushed you, or because, you know, I sent you your online workout this week, because I also have online clients, that, you know, you're able to see differences and you're killing it, or you're like, no, you think twice about what you're going to eat. Z's going to kill me.
Yeah.
Things like that. Not that I don't give them balance, but it just makes them think twice now. And I went from, so we were always training together, even with our trainer, right? And at that point, again, I wanted to start learning different methods, things like that, because I feel like I learn best hands-on. So I wanted to start learning other techniques. So I jumped around from trainers after, like, I was with one trainer for a year, and he would just come along with me. So it was nice. So then I would go to another trainer. I started learning more about, like, bodybuilding kind of style. I felt like I actually fell in love with that style for my goals itself. But I still do, like, HIIT workouts. I still do like put in plyometrics, like calisthenics. Like, I try to incorporate all. And I also am able, now that I've worked with so many different coaches with their expertise on some of them, I feel like I've kind of tried to mold into that so I can, you know, design programs towards you.
That's great.
And with my clients. And so I also do groups sometimes. I do events. He mentions LA a lot because I'm also a travel nurse. So I ended up starting travel nursing in May 2016. And I just go to LA. I'm licensed in New York as well, but LA has just kind of taken over my heart a little bit. Not only from, like, the fitness, the health conscious, like, finds out there, but also, and the weather. The pay packages and the way nursing works out there is a little different because a lot of hospitals are unionized. So you're kind of spoiled when you're working out there.
So how does that work? Like, you just decide that you're going to go out there, or do they call you, or what? Yeah,
you end up working with you're technically an agency nurse, if that helps with that. But you sign up with agencies. I have like 5 agencies I have a profile with. You can do as many as you want, but the more you do, the more calls you're going to get. So I tried to stick to about 3, but then I kind of wanted to see where else. I just like to have options open. But most contracts are 3 months at a time. They put you up in housing. Usually,
That's
so
cool.
usually, like, you are going to make more regardless being a travel nurse. And I did it to start paying off student loans. So, and because Ayaz is working from home, he's about to soon go into the office, but he's been able to come along with me. We don't have kids yet, so it's just been a great part of our journey. And also, again, with training, I've been able to pick up out there as well. So I'll do, like, groups out there. I'll do personal out there as much as I can with my schedule out there. Because, again, I'm still a nurse. It sounds crazy, but I enjoy both, that I can't quit one or the other.
But they kind of go hand in hand, because I that's one thing that I always have a problem with like personal trainers, is I'm always kind of like, how much do you really know? You know what I mean? Like, you know, because a lot of times I think you go to a personal trainer and you're like, these are my goals, but they always kind of like gravitate towards like their own favorite sort of like style. So it's like, if you're going to a trainer that's like a power lifter and you're talking about wanting to like build mass and like bodybuilding kind of stuff, and then they like kind of still kind of steer you towards powerlifting stuff, and you're like, wait, dude, but I thought we were talking about like bodybuilding stuff. You know what I mean? So it's kind of cool that you're so balanced, and like you said, you went to a lot of different types of trainers, because I think a lot of people are a little too close-minded when it comes to fitness stuff, because they think like, well, this is what worked for me, and this is where I'm passionate in, so I'm going to like convince my clients that this is the best thing for them, which, I mean, honestly, a lot of times that's kind of what personal training is you got to convince your clients that your way is the best way, because you're trying to get them healthier, trying to get them more fit, whatever. But sometimes it might not be like aligned with their specific body goals or whatever.
Right. And I do think it goes hand in hand, whether it's, and like you said, like, I think that's helped me a lot, is actually every coach needs a coach, right? So when you yourself have been the client before, you can relate more, and you've gone through different styles before. I feel like you've learned a lot more. And even now to this day, even after I've been training as a trainer, I'll still hit up coaches, and I'll love to collaborate with other personal trainers, because I like to learn. And that's also like building more of a community between fitness. And that's why I like doing Sweat with ATL. I think like Umama's such a boss out here, right? Like, that's awesome that she's able to connect them. And I've met a lot of people through her, and I'm glad, and I'm so thankful for that. And again, I'll learn. I technically, like, anytime I'm working with a trainer or working out with one, whatever we're doing, I'm learning as I'm going as well. Like we're all here to learn, right?
Exactly.
And I think that's a good way to look at it. And like you said, like some personal trainers, yeah, they're going to try to sell you their way. But because this is my side like hustle or like my side hobby, technically I chase and I'll still be a nurse. I'm not going to push you to train with me. If you want to train with me because you want me to be your trainer, that's amazing. And I'll definitely take you on as a client. But, you know, there's tons of personal trainers out there. It's up to you on what you want to go for and what your goals are and how educated your trainer is. So because like that's the thing, like because I'm also a nurse, like I'm not nursing is like my number one, like my career, right? Personal training, I feel like it's more of my hobby, and it's kind of nice because I can mix my passion with also.
Yeah, and you're certified in nutrition, right?
Yeah, fitness nutrition.
That's great because that's
so
another.
I just wanted to keep learning. That like literally, that's what I do. Like I'll be like, you know, and I'll tell him, I'm like, you know, I kind of want to, and I love. The thing is, I know I'm so passionate about it because I enjoy reading about it. He knows, like, I never watch TV. If I'm home, I'm usually on the internet or like reading something, or I'll be like, oh, look at this new way to like stretch, or you know, I just love that. Like, technology is so cool. Like now you have like electronic foam rollers and things like that. You know, it's super cool.
What's an electronic foam roller?
Oh my god, I'll have to show it. I'll bring it next time when I can. Because you're gonna like fall in love with it.
What?
Yes,
cool.
It's really cool.
What does it do that's different than a regular foam roller?
It looks like a car buffer.
Oh.
And you can put it up against, and you can like really get into the fascia of your muscle. It's just like myofascial release, but you can like turn it, and it like you can apply more pressure to it, and it'll obviously be a little bit more painful. But you don't want it to be so painful where it's uncomfortable. You want it to be enough to where like if you're really tight, it'll start loosening it up.
That's pretty cool.
Have you ever seen like the Theragun?
Yeah.
So it's like that, but instead of it being a pinpoint, it looks like a car buffer, the one I have. So, and the one I have also has different sleeves. So even like for women, it like has like a scuffing thing where it exfoliates, and then you can put this pillowcase looking thing on it, and it actually puts lotion on it after you exfoliate. That's pretty cool. So you can have like 3-4 sleeves on it.
Hey, why does it have to be for women? What if I want to use it?
You can use it too. Shut up,
I'm just kidding.
It's so it's like that's what I mean. Like I'm constantly finding myself loving to like read about this stuff. I don't know. I just indulge into it. But I hate reading like a novel.
No, like, I feel you.
But when it's about fitness things and that's how I became certified in nutrition, just because I was like, you know, I think it would help. It's not going to hurt.
Yeah,
so
and they all go hand in hand.
I'll go hand in hand, and even like when I would go through it pretty quickly because a lot of it related to what I've learned of nursing. Mm-hmm. So even like carb counting, things like that with my diabetics, like you already know these things. You already know with your renal patients what like you're trying to avoid between their sodium levels. Mm-hmm. So it's very interesting how it relates with my clients in general. Or like if I have a client about to pass out, I know to elevate their legs to bring blood flow back to the brain and stuff, and it helps. Like things like that, you know. You can intertwine it actually. Yeah. So
I'm a big believer in like everything that you learn is always going to be an evolution, and it's going to help you with later things. Like, you know, you're an architect by trade, right? So like I'm sure that knowing how to use like CAD and stuff was helpful, extremely helpful in creating shoes. Like you're a nurse, and now you're doing personal training stuff that feeds into that. Like everything that you learn, hopefully, is going to be like an evolution.
But see, that's the thing, right? I have so many architect friends. We have so many great designing tools, right? That can be applied literally to anything, right? Furniture, curtains, TVs, whatever you want, because everything is generated off of CAD. Majority of the stuff, right? So even animation, like I have a lot of friends who graduate with me from Columbia. They do animations now for Disney and stuff like that. So the idea is realizing what you have up your sleeve as far as tools goes and your skills, and kind of relating to like what your passion is.
Exactly.
Because a lot of people, when they graduate, we have such a society has created such a system. Like if I graduate as an architect, I must design buildings. I must design interiors of the houses. But no, like it's just a tool. Architecture is the tool I have. How I apply to different things in real life, it's up to me. So when people start realizing that, people are like, oh, how cool you're doing this. I'm like, it's not cool. It's just something I took my skills and applied it to something else. Yeah. So people like, you know, that's when a lot of young people come up to me and like, hey, how'd you get into this? You have tools, you have skills, take it and apply it to something else.
Utilize
and
it, yeah.
Utilize it. You're not necessarily designing buildings.
And I was gonna say, I think a lot of people too, like they have this like idea of what they kind of want to do, and then they learn a bunch of stuff, and then they realize it's not what they want to do.
Exactly.
Like, you know, a lot of people are like, you know, okay, I want to be a doctor. Well, really, what was the main reason? Well, you realize that doctors make a lot of money, and you wanted to own your own business. But there's a lot of other ways that you could own your own business and make a lot of money and help people without having to go through all that stuff or whatever. And maybe you don't even enjoy the doctor part of it. You just wanted to do the other stuff. And so like figuring that out is really important.
Oh, exactly. And we get this question all the time. Like, how do you have time to do all this? Like, you're hearing me when I'm saying this, right? And it's like, when you're so passionate about something, you're going to do what it takes, right? Like, and I feel like, yeah, you work your job, whatever you got to do, pay your bills, whatever, you know, do that thing. But if you're passionate about something, go for it. You know, like, you shouldn't have there should be no excuse, technically.
For sure.
Because we all have the same 24 hours in a day. If you really want to pursue something, go after it.
Definitely. And like, one thing with architecture that I was thinking when I was younger, I like when people are like, what do you want to be? I was like, I want to make roller coasters. And like, that was the thing that I always wanted to do when I was younger. Like, I want to be a roller coaster designer. But like, I don't know if it was really that I wanted to do that. Like, because now I'm looking at, okay, what does a roller coaster designer actually do? They're doing a lot of math problems, and I like, that is not me. So I'm like, okay, never mind. Like, I liked the like fun part of it, and like being able to see everyone's excitement like once it's finished, and seeing people ride it and stuff. So like, maybe that I'm kind of, on one hand, glad that I didn't go down that path, because I would have realized at one point, like, oh wait, I'm doing a bunch of stuff that I don't like doing. But I think that people, they have like this feeling attached, like, I loved roller coasters, so like, what can I do to get myself in the door of that? And like, maybe a better thing is like, okay, maybe you could do another thing at a amusement park, or maybe you can be like a brand strategist around like the theme of the roller coaster or whatever, you know, all these different things that people don't really like think about.
I mean, that's the thing, like when people ask a lot, another question is like, what got me into architecture? And then I'm like, you know, the funniest thing, I tell people a story like how I got into architecture. Actually, I was supposed to go to med school. I wanted to go into medicine. Then I realized that I'm not made for blood. That blood kind of grosses me out. Like, I would literally faint. So my undergrad, when I was just taking prereqs, I took some biology classes. Like, oh crap, this is not for me. And you know, being Indian, my parents are like, okay, what are you gonna do in college? How much money are you gonna make? I was like, fuck, I gotta make this decision in such a pressure. What do I do? So a friend of mine was actually at the time was going to Southern Polytech, which is now Kennesaw State in Marietta. And I was just driving, it's my dad calling. I was just driving and I saw this cool building that they just constructed, and it was architecture school. I was like, hold on, I can't draw human stick figures. I don't know what architecture is. I don't know what I'm going to do. But you know what? It'll get my parents off my back. So I'm going to go to architecture school. So I stepped into architecture school, had no idea what perspective meant, had no idea how to draw something, had no idea how to make models, had no craftsmanship skills. I couldn't craft a thing. So I was a terrible student. Like I was lost, you know. But then I made good friends around me, like good friends that are still friends these days, to this day, and then picked up as I went along. So to me, architecture, you know, a lot of kids grow up, I had no idea like what I was. So architecture was just like, all right, I'm going to do it. Just jumped into it.
Yeah. And that's another thing that you mentioned is like, I didn't even know how to draw. It's like, but those are skills that you can learn.
Exactly.
And I think people put themselves into a box too much with like, I'm bad at drawing, or I'm not creative, or whatever. And it's because it's just like fitness. It's like, it's because you've never flexed that muscle before. It's like, just because you think that you can't do a push-up doesn't mean that you wouldn't be able to do one later. It's because you haven't developed those muscles. You haven't ever used them before. And it's just like with creativity or creating something, or, you know, drawing or whatever. It's like, there's a system when someone draws like a cartoon or draws like something realistic, there's like a process in their brain that they're going through of why they're drawing this line, you know? And so I think that that's one thing that we limit ourselves too much, is we say like, oh, well, I can never do that because I'm not this. Or that was one thing, I was always in art classes in high school and stuff, but I would see other kids that were way, quote unquote, better than me at other things. And so I just automatically assume like, well, I can never be a professional artist, because if there's like 10 kids in my class that are way better than me, just in my class, imagine the whole world, how many other people are better than me. But to
me, like the way when people ask me, can I draw? Like we were playing games the other day, and this guy, we were just, it was charade. I think we were playing, and not charade. What was that game we were playing? Where you have to draw and guess Pictionary.
Pictionary, yeah, Pictionary.
And he's like, "Oh, I'm on your team. You must know how to draw." I was like, "No, I'm terrible at drawing." He didn't believe me. He's like, "How are you an architect and you can't draw?" And I'm like, it's my imagination that makes me an architect. I can hire someone to draw. I can do 3D models all day in computer. Nowadays, that's what people do, right? So I can sell you a space using 3D model, which is way better than doing a quick sketch. I suck at sketches. I wish I had those skills to do like really good, cool renderings really fast. So it's like this preconditioned theories people have. Like, I'm an architect, I can draw. I'm a doctor, I must know all parts of my body. I'm a driver, I can drive a race car. No, it's like, it's not true. Like a lot of people, like, if you have an imagination, there are ways out there you can quickly learn the tool and express yourself. And to me, like, that's important. Like, you have an imagination, I do. But where kids like get afraid is like, oh crap, I have this idea, this imagination, but I don't know how to explain it. I can't draw. Okay, drawing was a tool that was used in the 1900s, right? Now you have CAD. Now you have SketchUp, which is you can download off of Google quickly and draw boxes. At least get your first step out. Then you'll start learning how to carve windows. Then you'll start learning how to draw doors. But as long as you learn the stacking of the boxes, you have a physical structure. Then you start carving, right? So kids need to understand, like, even like the tools are out there. The drawing part used to be done in the past. Now I can do SketchUp on my phone. Like, I have a pen. I have AutoCAD on my app. I can, if I'm talking to a client, I can quickly extrude some cubes and give you a visual, like, this is what your house is going to look like, right? Instead of me sitting there and drawing lines. So it's the tools have advanced, but the mentality hasn't.
Yeah, and I like what you said, because it's like, I can hire someone to draw it. I need the imagination.
Exactly.
And that's what I don't know. I never grasped this concept until like kind of recently, I guess, like in the past few years, of like what it means to be something. It's like, okay, I'm a musician, but that doesn't necessarily mean that like I even wrote the song or I even played the instruments or I'm an artist, but that doesn't even mean I painted the thing or like I'm like a sculptor, but maybe I hired someone to literally make the sculpture, and I just came up with the concept of it, but I'm a sculptor, So it's kind of weird how we have these ideas of I am this, but like really, like you said, it's like I can't even draw, but I'm an architect. I can make a building, but just because but being able to draw something on paper doesn't make a physical building come into existence. But
it's interesting. It's just interesting. Like, people have this preconceived notion of things that, I don't know, people are maybe afraid just to express. I don't know. Maybe that's what it is.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
I feel like we've talked about a lot of good stuff. Yeah, definitely. Okay, so awesome. Anything that you guys want to close with? Of course, we need to promote you guys so that everyone can find you on social media.
Yeah, so
go to your website.
I'm not active on Threads and Beams IG, but of course, follow me. Sometimes I go out of my notion. I have this Kanye mentality at times where I go on a rant, talk about nothing related to shoes. I talk about architecture. I talk about fashion. And my media guys are like, what are you doing? Stop talking about, you're a shoe company. Talk about shoes. I'm like, dude, I need break from shoes.
but what do people what are people that are into shoes? What are they into? Because obviously,
design.
Because I like shoes, but I am also interested in a lot of other stuff.
Exactly.
So it makes sense, actually.
Exactly. So I go back and delete my stuff like next day. I'm like, crap, I gotta delete all this stuff. So I'm bad at Instagram, but I'm learning. It's called Threads and Beams, and our website is threadsandbeams.com. We specialize in custom shoes and bags now. And hopefully we'll introduce women's shoes. We have 12 new designs we'll be adding to women's line.
Nice.
So, a lot of exciting stuff.
And you said May 1st is the...
May 1st, my website will be updated. So you'll be able to go
stuff will be on there.
Do things.
And if you live in Atlanta, hopefully there's going to be some cool pop-up stuff.
Yeah, so hopefully we're planning a pop-up this summer at some location, but targeting Pond City Market. We have our ready-to-wear line available at Standard at Lenox Mall. So you can go try them on.
Very cool.
You can buy them there, and we have one design, 3 colors available at the shop. And other than that,
And
we're collaborating with a bunch of local individuals. We have a hat / slip-on shoe coming. It's actually supposed to arrive today. And hopefully it'll be available for summer. So fedora hat, which is made by this brand called Wear Brims, I think. And they are based out of Atlanta as well. We have another shoe collaboration coming. We're shooting for that next week with Mark Bloom from Atlanta United.
Very cool.
So he and I have been working on it for 2 years. It's just our schedules. He played for MLS and I was in LA, so could never be in the same location. So hopefully he's in town next week. So we'll shoot for that, and we'll have that line available on our website early next month. We are interested in collaborating with a bunch of individuals in Atlanta to kind of present a product.
Yeah.
Very, very cool.
Yeah.
And I'm Zeenat, and Z Train Me on Instagram. I've turned it into mostly a training Instagram, but I do post personal things because I also want to keep it raw as much as I can versus just, all about training. But majority is, you can find me in Atlanta. I'll still be hosting group events, even if I go back to LA on another contract or not. But I'm home once a month usually. And I'm also on FitRadio, so you can find me. I can lead you through HIIT workouts through FitRadio as well.
Whoa. Mm-hmm. I've never heard of that before. What is that?
Quickly, I'll tell you. It's actually based out of Atlanta, but it's like mixes of music, and you download it on your phone. I think you get like 3 days for free, but after that, it's $5 a month. So it's pretty affordable, but you don't have to like ever hit, whatever playlist. You can just put like what genre you want, and you just start playing, and it'll be DJ mixes of music, and it's like live DJs from around wherever, and around the nation. But basically, there's a coaching tab on the app, and they have coaches. Like most of them are from Atlanta because we're all from Atlanta. There's a few out of town coaches, but we record workouts, and it's all audio. So you'll still have the mixes of music. You can either choose, the whatever you want to listen to as a background, and you'll have a voice leading you through.
Interesting. So you get to choose the music, and you get to choose the class or whatever that you're listening to, the workout?
Right now it's all cardio based, but they are working on possibly throwing in some strength soon.
That's
so
cool.
Like coming soon, but we've got like Stairmaster, elliptical, treadmill, outdoor jogs. What else? I think there's...
That's really cool. So you're like on... So the idea is you're listening to while you're like on a run, and then you like stop and do some other stuff? Or like what do you do?
It basically leads you through it. So basically it'll be, you'll download the app, or I'll even show it to you after this, but you pick whatever coach you want or whichever workout you want to do. You can either choose however way you want, but say you pick Z's like treadmill workout. You're going to play it, you're going to start listening to music, and then I'll introduce myself on there. I'll be like, hey, everybody, it's Z. I'm going to lead you through a 25-minute HIIT workout on this treadmill. And then go ahead and set your treadmill to level 7 and speed of 3.5, like things like that. Incline.
That's really cool.
And then I'll tell you when to bring it back down. It's not so much where it's like annoying where there's a voice in your headphones, but you get breaks. That's the
Come
thing.
on!
Yeah, but then you'll still get motivation throughout too. So
That's
the music
really cool.
intertwines into it, and then my voice will be like, all right, now bump it up or bring it back down to a little bit of a recovery for 90 seconds, things like that. So
that's great.
Yeah, so definitely I'm on there as well. But yeah, you can always I'm open for collaboration. So I'm open for, like I said, I love talking to other personal trainers, getting to know like what their expertise is, and
that's
constantly
great.
learning.
Very, very cool.
So yeah,
that's awesome. Well, thank you guys for being
Thanks
on
for
the show.
having
This
us,
was
man.
really fun.
Yeah,
I like
thanks.
the mixture because everything kind of intertwined. It was good.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you so much.
I'm looking forward to another one. This was fun.
Yeah,
it kind of helps me because you always think about ideas in your head, but when you actually talk to somebody, you're like, oh shit, that doesn't work.
No, it's totally true. It's totally true. That happens a lot. A lot of people say like, dude, this podcast, like just talking about my thing helped me solidify like so much of what I want to execute on and what I want to like leave behind. Because you're right, like once you start, you have all these ideas kind of like jumbled up in your head. You have to like put them out, and then when you put them out, you're like, oh wow, like
they're all there.
Yeah, because her and I will be talking about telling her my idea. She'll tell me, and like, because we see each other every second of the day. It's like her telling me something and me telling her something. It's like almost known. Like I know what she's gonna tell me, and she knows what I'm gonna tell her. Mm-hmm. So the idea, it's like speaking
you can read
to
each other's minds.
Yeah, so speaking with someone else, it's like a light bulb. You know what I mean? So I want to speak again once the tool is up, and kind of get your feedback.
Yeah.
So hopefully, yeah.
Sounds good. I love it. Well, very, very cool. I'll make sure to link everything in the podcast so everyone can find you guys. But thanks you guys again for being on the show.
Thank you.
And we'll see you later, everybody. Boom. Man, I love that episode. That was a great one. Such awesome people. Very, very awesome people. That's the best part about this podcast for me, is I get to connect with such amazing individuals. It never gets old. But I forgot that we didn't actually end up talking about this during the podcast. But before we started recording, Ayaz actually told me that he wanted me to carry a Threads and Beams bag. And I've actually been searching for the perfect leather backpack for the past couple of years. And of course, I chose one of their amazing backpacks. They're custom backpacks. And we went on their amazing portal, designed my very own completely custom bag. Every little element of the bag is totally bespoke, from the materials to the colors to the zippers and even the interior lining. It's supposed to arrive in the next coming weeks. So of course, when it arrives, I'm going to be making a really cool video about it and share my experience customizing it and everything. So a huge thank you in advance to Threads and Beams for the beautiful bag. I cannot wait to carry it every single day. And I'm also I'm gonna go check out Z's HIIT workouts on FitRadio. It's such a cool concept. I love that. I've actually wanted something similar to that, so I'm excited to try it out. But anyways, make sure you go follow both of them on social media and all that stuff. I'll have all their information linked in the show notes. And if you're still listening to the sound of my voice, that means you made it to the very end. You're in the club. That means a lot of things. But number one, it means you enjoyed this episode. And that's a really good thing, because I know you'll love some of my other episodes as well. In particular, if you loved hearing about Ayaz and custom leather products and stuff like that, then I know you'll enjoy listening to episode 63 with the Kevin Fuller. And Kevin is a custom furniture designer, a world traveler, all around awesome dude, but deep down he's just a freaking entrepreneur. He started and successfully run a handful of companies, ranging from coffee to electrical and home theaters to building houses. And now he specializes in creating some of the dopest and unique furniture around. You'll definitely enjoy that episode, so go check it out. That was episode 63. And if you're into fitness and nutrition and that side of things, and you enjoyed what Z was talking about there, then I know you will absolutely love listening to episode 87 with Umama Cabria. Talk about a banger of an episode. But if you haven't listened to that one yet, then I don't know what you're doing with your life. It's one of the best ones of all time. But if you don't know, Umama is known as Small and Strong Fit on Instagram, where she has 110,000 raving fans. She currently runs SAS Brands. That was a rhyme. I'm apparently a rapper. But anyways, SAS Brands is an agency that develops social media strategies for health and fitness brands. And she also hosts some amazing fitness events. I think on tomorrow, there's going to be an event. It's sold out, but it's at Lululemon in Buckhead, I believe. But anyways, that is neither here nor there. But, geez. She's constantly connecting and collaborating with other influencers in her space. So go check that episode out. That was episode 87 with Umama Cabria. If you want to support the show, go to iTunes, rate it 5 stars. That really helps me out. Getting the podcast out to more people not only just feeds my ego, but of course it brings value to the world. If you enjoyed this episode and you want other people to enjoy it as well, go into iTunes, smashing that 5 stars. That really, really helps me out. And also, if you want to leave me a little review, that's just cool for me, because I like reading those. And iTunes ranks podcasts that have good reviews higher than ones that don't. Anyways, if you want to follow me, go to my website, andrewdeitsch.com. That's Andrew, DEITSCH.com. You can find the links to all my social media handles and accounts. Also, I'm going to be posting my daily vlog that I did with Ayaz and Zeenat when we recorded the podcast. Lots of cool video content, behind the scenes, all that good stuff. It's going to be on my YouTube channel and probably my Facebook as well, my Andrew Deitsch Podcast Facebook. But anyways, normally this is the part of the outro where I would tell you who the next guest is, but that will remain a mystery, mainly because I don't have an episode recorded yet. But that is just mainly my fault in scheduling, because I have a lot of people who are supposed to be on the show soon. But I'm going to be doing a lot of awesome stuff this week, so hopefully I'll have another episode for you guys on Thursday. Hope you all have an amazing week, and I will talk to you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.
No, you forgot the airport story.
Yeah, but I'm getting there.
Okay, sorry.
Anyways.